I've been getting into point and click adventures more and more over the last couple of years and really finding myself chilling out with them and enjoying my time. One of the latest ones that I finished is Trüberbrook. Now this one came out in 2019, so again I'm late to the party, but it has a fantastic visual design as well as some quirky characters, and although a bit of a lopsided story here and there, I enjoyed my time with it. So it's time to dive in and take a look. Think of Trüberbrook a little bit like a 1960s Twin Peaks, so to speak. You play as Hans, who wins the lottery to go and have a holiday in the German village of Trüberbrook. But when he arrives, what looked like being lovely on the brochure looks like a little bit of a provincial, sleepy town with not much to do. But that actually suits Hans quite nicely because he's a writer and he just wants to go away and write and be not disturbed for the rest of the trip. However, very soon, strange things start to happen, and he ends up teaming up with a lady called Greta, who is there as a anthropologist, to try and solve some of the mysterious goings-on that are taking place in Trüberbrook. What sells Trüberbrook most are two things. Firstly, I want to talk about the visual style, since you can see it on the screen. Now, the props and everything that's put into this game have actually been handcrafted by artists and made into little miniatures. There's some fantastic making of documentary footage that's going along that was, I'm sure, used as part of the Kickstarter when this game came out for 2019 to show how they built all of these little miniatures, and then they're kind of pushed into the game, and it gives Trüberbrook a really unique and malleable feel to it, because it feels Wallace and Gromity, and also a bit like the plasticine style games that you used to get. They were all the rage in like the early 90s, where you'd have like stop motion stuff going on. Trüberbrook really harks back to that era and does it exceptionally well. The other thing that works very well with this game are the characters. Each character, although they don't have massive motives and big backstories, they're all quirky. They all have this we live in our weird own little town but don't realise we're weird quality to them, which I can definitely relate to. And for instance, the lady that runs the hotel that you're staying in is balmy. Her child is about to become the next Satan, but no one seems to notice. You've got some old biddies that are outside that sit at the cafe and just want to be rude and annoying. There's lots of different characters that will pop up. They say their piece, they're normally involved in a puzzle or two, and then kind of fade away a little bit, but I enjoyed my time with all of the characters as they pop up. There's one specific character that lives in a tree house and has become like secluded from everyone, who did make me giggle. Outside of that though, the story itself starts off quite slow, then has a massive jump in exposition and drama that all kind of comes a little bit lopsided. And so you're kind of waiting for the slow burn to ignite, and then it takes place in a massive inferno all at once, right at the very end. And so Trüberbrook suffers for me personally from a lopsided story. Thankfully, the visuals and the characters are able to hold you through whilst you're kind of waiting for something to bubble up. But what I did find was that I was like, oh, and now we're at the end. And I didn't expect it to end when it did and how it did, all kind of together at the end. So just be aware of that going in. Lopsided story up front. On the flip side, controlling Hans is actually a really good experience depending on what you play on. If you've got a PC version, you can play with point and click classic like mouse controllers, or you can go for the controller navigation. I bought this on PlayStation 4, so on the PS4 version, you was moving through the menus, obviously with the D-pad, but also different buttons had different attributes to them. And that's helpful for when you're solving some of the puzzles, because while some of the puzzles are inventory-based, quite a lot of the puzzles involve chatting and doing like persuading characters and passing like tests that require you to have gathered information from other people's conversations. What I really liked of this is that when playing with the console version, you can walk obviously with the left stick and then change your eye of sight for clicking on objects with the right stick. So it felt like, I'm gonna pull something out of the hat here. Broken Sword 3, where you can move independently and then still interact with things elsewhere. And then if you interact with something that's like slightly outside of your reach, they'll walk towards it anyway, so it's all good. And it felt like a really good mash of old and new that worked for me, I guess. A few of the puzzles did feel a little obtuse and fell back into that old school what the hell do I do next classic point and click frustration. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, I was stumped. So and they felt a little bit too obtuse. One of those puzzles that wasn't necessarily one that's got me stuck but kind of made me go, come on, was that there's a puzzle where you have to create fire, but our character chain smokes all the way through the game. So I was like, he's setting fire to things now. And those kind of lapses in logic make me annoyed sometimes. They don't happen too often though. One thing I will say is that Trüberbrook also understands its roots, and there's some throwbacks to like Day of the Tentacle was in there. There was also something around the Monkey Island games. Clearly they're a fan of LucasArts, essentially, and so you can find some nice hidden references and puzzles that emulate some of that in there without feeling like they're ripping it off too much. So overall for me, Trüberbrook was a interesting experience. Thoroughly enjoyed myself whilst I was playing with it. It took me about 10 hours to get through because I got stuck on a few points, but I think if you're very good with point and click adventures, you could probably do it in about 8. Written review will be over on higherplayinggames.com. It's a maybe recommendation for me. I think some people will get a little bit put off by its slow start and then all or nothing at the end. And I just wish that story was a little bit more padded and that characters that have such great personality were given more screen time so that you could integrate more with the world around you and not feel like you're on a kind of strange mission but not really understanding the mission until it comes slap bang in your face right at the end. Hope you found this review enjoyable. If you did, leave a like and consider subscribing to find more hidden gems in gaming. Bye-bye. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.